So now that we have finished completing our consolidated expenses worksheet, we're going to work on creating 3 new worksheets, one for each food truck. Now, since each of these new worksheets are going to have a very similar layout and the same calculations and similar numbers to the ones that we've already created, we're just going to copy the information from this sheet into the new ones. And we're going to learn how to do this with 3 different methods. So let's start by creating a new worksheet. So go ahead and press the new sheet button, the little plus sign next to the sheet 1 tab. So that's going to create a new sheet called sheet 2. We're going to select sheet 1. So go to that tab, the sheet 1 tab. And here we're going to select all the data. We can do this in different ways. So stop here for a second. I'm just going to show you different methods. One is to press Control A. That will select the entire sheet depending on really where you are located in the worksheet. So let me do it again. If I'm in cell A1, right, the beginning of the worksheet, and I press Control A, only those cells that are populated are going to be selected. If I press Control A again, all cells will be selected. So let me deselect those. The instructions ask you to select all the cells using a different method, which is to press this select all button. It's that little gray triangle that's at the intersection of the numbers for the rows and the letters for the columns. So right in this corner. So if you click on that select all button, all the cells will be selected again. All right, so that's what the instructions ask us to do. Next, we're gonna click on the copy button. If you go to the clipboard area on the home tab, so copy, and you could also press Control C here for copy, that's a shortcut. We're going to go to our destination tab. So click on sheet 2. And then here, simply to paste this, you can just press enter. And that pastes all those cells that we just copied. Another alternative is to click on the paste icon in the clipboard area or press Control V. The difference between these 3 methods is if you press enter, that works only once. The marquee around the copy cells will disappear, and the information that's copied in the clipboard will disappear as well. In contrast, if you use the paste button or Control V, the shortcut, you can paste that same information several times. All right, so next step says zoom to approximately 120%. We're going to click on that plus sign on the bottom right corner. Just click on it a couple of times until you see 120%. I scrolled up there to make sure that I'm looking at the entire worksheet. So that's our first method for copying data from one sheet into another one. Let's take a look at the second method. This time we're going to copy a worksheet using the shortcut menu. So the instructions said right click the sheet 1 tab. So go ahead and I'm going to click on it and then right click on it. And here we want to use the move or copy option. This will display this dialog box. In the before sheet area, we want to select the last option there, the one that says move to end. And we want to make sure that the create a copy box is marked. So go ahead and select that box and we're going to click OK. So look at what happens there. All that information from sheet 1 was created into a new sheet as we ask Excel to create a copy of it, right? So, and it's labeled as sheet 1, 2, because it refers to the source of the data, right? Sheet 1. So 2 in parentheses means kind of like version 2 of sheet 1. Next, we're going to do the same, but with the third method. So we're going to work on creating a new worksheet or copying the existing worksheet into a new one using the control option. So we're going to select sheet 1, click on that tab again. This time, what I want to do is I want to press Control and then click on that sheet and drag it to the right of the last sheet that I created, right? So that now created sheet 1 version 3. And if you click on it, it has the same data, right? So that's another option for creating or copying a worksheet that we already have an existing worksheet. If I had not pressed Control and I just click on it and drag it, it would just move that sheet. But by pressing Control, dragging and moving it, you are creating a new one. All right, so next we're going to learn how to drill entries. This option is really useful when you want to enter data that's going to be common to several worksheets, right? So in this case, there are some inputs that we want to change and we want to make sure that they're displayed on each of the worksheets that we have on this workbook. so we can use this drilling and entry option, right? So let's go ahead and right click sheet 1. And we're gonna, on this menu, we're gonna press select all sheets. This will kind of group all those sheets together. So when we enter a value in this sheet, it will be entered in the exact same cell in all the sheets that we selected. So let's go ahead and select cell C5. So we're gonna be changing this 2021 and 2022 projected percentage changes. We're gonna change them all to new values. So we wanna type on the cell 2.5. Notice that they're formatted already, so I don't need to enter the percentage sign, just 2.5, and then click on the arrow to go down to the next one. And then the instructions are to enter the 15 remaining 2021 and 2022 values based on the values that are on table 5.6. They're also displayed on figure 537. So let's go ahead and enter them all manually. So the next one is 2, and we're gonna move down 2, a 1%, a 1%. Notice that I'm just entering the value of 1. I don't need to worry about the percent. The next one is negative. So I can just enter -1 and it'll display it in parentheses and in red because that's the format that we assigned to this cell. And the last one is -2. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to the 2022 column. So we're gonna change that first 4% for a 2.5, 3, another 3, a 1, a 1, a 2%, and the last two are negative, -1 and -2.25. All right. So we're gonna right click sheet 1 now to make sure that we now ungroup all of these sheets, right? So right click on sheet 1 and we're gonna select that last option that says ungroup sheets. So they're now not linked together anymore. One at a time, go to each of the sheets to make sure that that worked, right? That all those values that we enter have been changed in each of the worksheets. So now we're ready to start customizing each of the individual worksheets. For each of them, we're going to change the name of the sheet tab. We're going to change the subtitle, the color of the tab, the color of the title area, and also we're going to enter the expenses here on column B. So let's go ahead and start with the first worksheet called Lady Lobster. Double click the sheet 2 and we're going to type Lady Lobster. There we go. Enter, press enter to keep that name. Next, we're going to right click on that Lady Lobster sheet tab and we're going to go to tab color. We want to change the color of this tab to tan accent 4, which is on column 8, row 1. Right, so that's the one, tan accent 4. Click on it, and as you can see, the tab has changed to that particular color. Next, we're going to double click on cell A2, and we're going to drag through the word consolidated. We want to change the subtitle to Lady Lobster. So Lady space Lobster and expenses worksheet, we're going to keep that part. Oop, I misspelled that. There we go. Click anywhere else. And now we want to select the range A1, A2. We're going to change the color of this title area. We're going to click on the fill color arrow. The color that we want here is tan accent 4, so the same one that we'd used before, column 8, row 1, tan accent 4. All right, and we want to change the font, so click on the font color arrow. And here we're going to click on automatic, which gives you that black default font. All right, click anywhere to see that it looks good. Perfect. All right, so now we're ready to start entering the data. We're in step number 6, and there's a table on step 6 in your textbook that you can follow in order to enter this data. I'm going to do it with you so you can follow me, but I would suggest that you look at the data on the table just in case to make sure your numbers are right. All right, so we want in cell B5, 79,207.2, it says 0.20, but because we already have the data formatted to 2 decimal places, Excel will do that for me. 15,247.39, enter. 20,000. Notice I didn't have to enter the 0.00. Then 14,400. Cell B9 will be 6,200. Cell B10 is 4295 $3,599.2, $3,599.64, and $2,500. All right, look at that total and make sure that it matches your table. The total should be $145,449.43. All right, so we are good. Go ahead and click on any empty cell to deselect that range. And now we're ready to move on to the second worksheet. So go ahead and double click the sheet that says sheet 1 version 2. Double click on it. When you see that name grayed out, you can go ahead and either delete it or just type the new name, which should be Henry Haddock. So Henry Haddock with double D, D-D-O-C-K. Press enter to keep that name. We're going to change the tab color. So right click on that sheet, go to tab color, and this time we want teal accent 2, which is column 6, row 1. So teal accent 2. All right, there we go. And double click on cell A2, drag through the word consolidated, and we're going to change it for the name of the food truck, Henry Haddock. Click anywhere else. And next we're going to select the range A1 to A2 to change the color of this title, the title box. We want to click on the fill color arrow. And here we want teal accent 2 again. So column 6, row 1. And next we want to change the font. So click on the font color arrow and click on automatic. And it will give you that black default font, right? So now we're going to enter the following data as in step 6 on column B. So starting on cell B5, we want 72,870.62, enter, 14,027.6, 19,000, 13,248, 7,500, 3,951.58, 3,311.67, and 2,500, right? And I see that my total doesn't match, so go ahead and check it. I must have done something wrong. Oh, here, this very first one is supposed to be 72,870.62. Let's see if that works. Yes, 136,409.47. So double check your numbers. Make sure, as I said, that they add up to the total on your table. So we're in figure 539 in your textbook. We are now ready to move on to the third worksheet. So double click on the sheet that says sheet 1 version 3. We're going to change the name to Sharon Shrimp. All right. Press enter and right click on that tab. We're going to go to the tab color. This time we want orange in the standard colors area. So don't go to the theme colors area, but at the bottom, that's where we have our standard colors, and the orange should be the third one from left to right. All right, so now we made that orange. Double click on cell A2 and drag through the word consolidated, because we're going to change it to the name of the food truck, which is Sharon Shrimp. All right, click anywhere else. And next we're going to select range A1 to A2 to change the color of this box. Click on the fill color arrow, and we want the same orange on the standard colors group. Next we're going to click on font color arrow and click on automatic. And now we're ready to enter the data for the expenses. So click on cell B5 and start entering the data. 68,712.06, enter. 17,077.07, 18,500, 12,528. On cell B9 we want 5,000, 4810.62, 4,031.6, and 2,500. Let's check the total. The total should be 133,159.35. All right, so it looks like I got them all right this time. All right, so click on any empty cell, and now you can go ahead and save your work. Go to File, Save. Now that we have completed each of the worksheets, we can go ahead and consolidate our data. So in sheet 1, we're going to be entering totals. in column B, right, for each kind of expense. And therefore, we're going to need to refer to cells in other worksheets. In order to do that, we can use something called a worksheet reference. And the notation to refer to a worksheet is you open single quotation marks, you type the name of the worksheet, or you can use the pointer by just clicking on that particular worksheet. You close that single quotation mark and then use an exclamation point and then the name of the cell. Now, worksheet references can be used on their own or also as functions or formulas. So in this case, for example, for cell B5 in payroll, we want to add the payroll expense for each of the food trucks, right? So we could use the equal sign and say Lady Lobster cell B5 plus Henry Haddock cell B5 plus Sharon Shrimp Lady 5. Since we're going to be using really a range of worksheets, we can also use a range within our function. We could use the sum function and simply select a range of worksheets where the correct notation would be open question mark, the first worksheet in that range, Lady Lobster, colon, the colon sign or symbol, the last worksheet in that range, which would be Sharon Shrimp. You would close your single quotation mark, exclamation point, and the name of the cell. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And when we do that, when we refer to a range of worksheets in a formula, we call that a 3D reference, right? So let's go ahead and learn how to enter that 3D reference. So let's start by changing the name of sheet 1. So double click on that sheet 1 tab, and we're going to type Consolidated. All right, so press enter to keep that name. Right click on that tab because we want to change the color. So go to the tab color. And this time we want to use blue gray accent 1, which is on row 1, column 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is, blue gray accent 1. All right, perfect. So now go ahead and select cell B5. This is where we're going to enter our 3D reference. And go ahead and click the auto sum button. So that will, as you can see in the formula bar, will give us the sum function, sum, open parentheses, and then a close parentheses. We're going to put something, the argument inside that sum function. So let's go ahead and click on the Lady Lobster worksheet. Right, as you can see, look at the formula bar. So the Excel, when I clicked on that particular worksheet, wrote open quotation mark, Lady Lobster, close quotation mark, and then exclamation point. And now it's time to click on our cell, the cell that we want to refer to, and that's cell B5. All right, so now it says exclamation point, cell B5. Now we're going to enter the rest of our range. This is the beginning of the range. The last worksheet on that range will be the Sharon Shrimp. So in order to select that last worksheet in your range, go ahead and press Shift, and while you're pressing Shift, click on Sharon Shrimp. All right, and as you can see now, it says Lady Lobster, colon, Sharon Shrimp, close that quotation mark, exclamation point, cell B5. So what are we doing with this function? We're telling Excel sum cell B5 in Lady Lobster, in Henry Haddock, and in the Sharon Shrimp sheet. We're going to click on the enter button in the formula bar, and there we go. That's our total. So let's check that we got the right total, 220,789.88, right? That's perfect. Now we need to paste this formula to the other expenses, right? To cells B6 to B12. Now, one thing that we have to be careful with is when we have a 3D reference in a formula, in order to paste it properly to other cells, we have to paste it as a formula using the paste gallery. So be sure to use the paste gallery, which is going to be in this clipboard area, as opposed to the paste button option, right? So here are the steps. We're going to click cell B5. We want to have that cell active on the consolidated worksheet, and we're going to press on the copy button in the clipboard area. Right, so now we'll copy that cell. Now we want to select our destination range, which will be B6 to B12. That's where we want to copy this particular formula to. And then we're going to click on the paste arrow in the clipboard area. And here we have several options for pasting. The second one, so row 1, column 2, is copy the formulas only. Notice that the next one is formulas and number formatting. We just want to use the formulas, right? So the one on row 1, column 2. All right, click on it, and then go ahead and press escape to clear that marquee. And deselect that previous range, so click anywhere. And let's quickly check that that worked. So we're gonna go and click on cell B6, and we have sum of the lady lobster to Sharon shrimp, cell B6, perfect. The next one is sum of lady lobster to Sharon shrimp, B7. All right, it looks like it's all good. You can check a few more just to be sure. Go ahead and save your work. So go to File and Save. Our next task is to insert a pie chart to graphically represent the 2020 consolidated expenses, the total for all 3 food trucks together. So let's go ahead and work on inserting a 3D pie chart. We're going to start by selecting the range that we want to graphically represent. So we want to take cells A5 to B12. We want to select that particular range. Notice that I have 2 columns in my range. One contains the labels for each category of expenses, and the other one, column B, contains the values for each expense. So let's go ahead and click on the Insert tab on the ribbon. And here in the Charts group, we're going to select the one that looks like a pie. It says Insert Pie or Donut Chart. Click on that little arrow. Here we want to select the 3D pie chart. All right, so once you click on it, you'll see your chart is ready. Next, we want to change that title, right? We don't want it to say chart title. So we're going to change that, select it, and type 2020 Consolidated Expenses. All right, click outside that chart title area. Make sure that it is correct, that there are no typos. Next, we're going to select the Chart Styles button, which is the second one here on the right-hand side, meaning you have 3 different icons. The one in the middle, the one that looks like a paintbrush, is for chart styles. So if you click on it, that's going to display the chart styles gallery. Scroll down all the way to style number 9. If you hover your mouse over each of those styles, you'll see their numbers. That one is style 8, the next one is style 9. So that's the one we want. Select style 9 and click on any empty cell. That will collapse that chart styles gallery. Next, we're going to work on moving this chart. Now, in previous modules, we learned how to move a chart to a different worksheet. In this particular project, we want to move the chart out of the way because it's covering my data right now, but I want to keep it in the same worksheet. So in order to do that, you want to point to the border of the chart until you see that 4-headed arrow. Now you can click on it and just move it, right? And the instructions tell us to just get it out of the way, kind of put it below the data, approximately in cell A15. All right, so there we go, A15. We can go ahead and scroll down just so that we can see the graph, right? Now, what if we want to resize the chart? Maybe we want to make it larger because it's hard to read right now, right? Some of those percentages are all tied together. So in order to change the size, there are a couple of options. You could click on Format on the ribbon to access the chart tool format. And on the right-hand side, in the size group, there are arrows there to change the height or the width of the chart. You can type a new number, or you can click on the arrows going up and down to adjust the height and the width of that particular chart. But the instructions are asking us to do this resizing manually. So another option to do this is to use the sizing handles, which are those little circles that you see on the corner of the chart, right? We're gonna press Shift and then grab on that bottom right corner, that sizing handle. We want to make it bigger, approximately to cell F32. All right, so there we go. I'm approximately on cell F32. Notice that when I press Shift and then drag that sizing handle, what I did is ask Excel to change the size of the chart, but keep it proportioned. If I don't press Shift, then I'm going to change the size of the chart, but not proportionally, right? So I may change the width height ratio. So in this case, we did it proportionally. All right, so go ahead and zoom out if you need in order to see that entire chart. I can see it pretty well, but I'm going to click just maybe a couple of times, all right, to 140%, because that makes it even more clear. We're going to be working with a lot more elements within this chart, so make it as big as possible with that zoom in option. So next we're going to learn how to explode a slice. What does this mean? Exploding or offsetting a slice means that we're just going to take that slice a little bit away from the rest of the chart. And the purpose of doing this is really just to draw attention to a particular slice. So in this chart, we obviously are drawn to the biggest slice, the 53%, right, which is the payroll expense. The second biggest expense here is fuel, 14%. And this is the one that we want to offset. Since it is the second one, we're going to offset it or explode that slice just so that we can draw attention to that particular expense. So click on the fuel slice, the 14%, twice to select it. Notice we don't want to double click. Look what happens if I double click. I'm going to select all of those labels. I don't want to do that. I want to click on that slice, not on that 14%, but somewhere in that brown area. And then again, now as you can see, I have 3 little circles or dots only in the corners of that particular slice. So now I've selected that specific slice. Right click on it. And here we want to select Format Data Point, the last option. And on the right hand side, you see the point explosion bar, the slider. We want to slide that until the box reads 15%. You can also just type it in. All right, I got it to 15% exactly. You can use the up and down arrows or just type it in if you struggle to find that specific percentage, right? So look what happened when I did that 15%. I just took that slice away from the chart just a little bit, right, by 15%. You can experiment by exploding the different slices. Just make sure that at the end you reset it to where only the fuel slice is exploded or offset. Notice that if you're reading the instruction in your textbook, there's a typo in your textbook. It says that you want to reset the slices so that only the security slice is the one that's offset. There's no security slice here. It should say the fuel slice. All right, so next we're going to learn how to rotate this 3D pie chart. Why do we want to rotate a chart? Well, maybe we want to change the view so that we are able to better see or better show the part of the chart that we really want to showcase, right? The one that we want to emphasize. So go ahead and right click the chart to display the shortcut menu. We're going to click on the chart, right click. There's the shortcut menu. And here we want to click on 3D rotation. Right? We're going to follow several instructions here, so pay attention. So when we select that 3D rotation, we display this Format Chat area pane. And in the X rotation box, we want to change that to 250. So simply type there 250. You want to delete that 0 first. Type 250. And look, this has a preview option. So as I'm typing that 250, did you see how that chart already rotated? Right? So I don't need to press OK or start anywhere. As I type a new number, this will be on that preview mode. All right, so we change the X rotation to 250 degrees. Next, we want to close that button, so that little X on the top right corner to close that particular menu, right? The Format Chat area menu. All right, now we're going to work on formatting the data labels. So click on the chart elements button. That's the plus sign, one of those 3 icons that's on the right hand side of your chart. So the first one, the plus sign, is for chart elements. Click on it. And here we want to select the data labels. So click on that arrow. And after you select on data labels, you want to select the last one, more options. This will display the format data labels. And again, here we're going to make several changes, right? So in the labels options, notice that there are 2 tabs at the top, labels and text. We're in the labels options. Here we want to display check marks in the category name. So make sure that you select that one. Also percentage, which is already selected for me. And also we want to show leader lines. What are leader lines? They're just going to be lines between the label and the specific data point in your chart so that we can better see which percentage belongs to each slice of the pie. right? So if you have any other boxes checked in here, make sure that you deselect them. So check them again so that the check marks disappears, right? We only want to have a check mark on those three categories: category name, percentage, and show leader lines. In the label position, so keep scrolling down, we want to select outside end, right? We're going to move those labels to the outside ends of the pie chart. Notice that now what happened is we can't see them because our font was white and the background of our chart is white, so I can't see them. But don't worry, we're going to change that font to a black so that it becomes visible. We're going to keep scrolling down. Next, we're going to click on the number arrow. So keep scrolling down. And here click on the category button. Here we want to select percentage. So we're going to display each of those numbers as a percentage. And also in the decimal places, select any text that's there. I have it 2, deleted or selected, and type 1 instead. All right, so we have formatted all of those percentages to 1 decimal place. All right, and next we're going to go to the text option. So we're in the same pane, Format Date Labels pane, but now we're going to go to the other tab, the text options, right on the top there. So once you're in the text options, we want to we're going to click on the text fill arrow. If that one is not displayed, make sure you click on it to display all those options. And here we want to click the solid fill. I already have that option, so I don't have to change it. But if you have a different one, make sure that that's the one you have selected. So we want a solid fill. Next, we're going to click on the color bottom arrow. We're going to play with the color here. So click on that arrow and we want to select black text 1, which should be column 2, row 1. So put your mouse over it to make sure that that's the correct one. Yes, it says black text 1. So select that one. All right, now as you can see, my labels became visible, right? Because I have them with this black font. Click the close button on the Format Date Labels pane. So that's the little X on the top right corner of the Format Data Labels pane. All right, we close it. And now one at a time, we want to drag each of these data labels slightly out, away from the chart to make them, to make the leader lines more visible, right? So go ahead and grab and drag each of them just a little bit away. As you can see now, you can see that leader line. And we're going to do the same with every single expense, kind of neatly organize them. Just a little bit away from the slice. We want to do that with fuel as well so we can see that leader line. All right, so now it looks much better. I can clearly see what percentage goes with each particular slice of the pie. So it's a lot more visible, right? And a lot more clear. Next, we're going to add a border to the chart. So let me select, I'm going to deselect that chart for a second. I click on any cell outside the chart area. As you can see, we have a very faint border around the chart right now. So we may want to select a different border. We're going to select here a darker border just so that we can clearly differentiate the area with our data versus the area with our chart, right? So if necessary, click to select the chart. So we're going to select it again. Click Format on the ribbon. So right across the top there, we're going to select Format. And here we want to select Shape Outline Bottom Arrow in the Shape Styles. So in the Shape Styles group, we want to select Shape Outline, which is the second option. Click on that arrow. We want to select Blue Gray Accent 1, which is column 5, row 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be it. Blue Gray Accent 1. All right, click on it. And we're going to click on any empty cell on the worksheet outside the chart. As you can see now, we have that darker gray, right, or blue gray border on our chart. All right, and go ahead and save your work. Click on that little disc looking icon on the top of your worksheet to save your work. Now we're ready to start printing, and we're going to learn how to print multiple worksheets at the same time. So before we start printing, we're going to make some changes to our page setup. We're going to change the margins. We're going to change the orientation of our worksheet from portrait to landscape. We want to make sure that it all fits in one page, etc. Now, in order to do this to multiple worksheets, we're going to have to select them all or group them. If instead I had applied these changes to the consolidated worksheet and then copied that consolidated sheet over to the other worksheets, the page setup options will not copy over to the other worksheets, right? So the only way to do this is to select them all or group them. So right click on the consolidated worksheet and then select all sheets. Now, as you can see, they're all in a lighter color. And if you go and look at the file name at the top of the sheet, you'll see that at the end it says group. So let's go ahead and click on the page layout tab on the ribbon. We're going to click on the page setup dialog box launcher to see the different options. All right, so here make sure that you're on the page tab, the very first one. And as I said, we're going to change the orientation from portrait to landscape. Next, we want to go to the margins tab. And here we want to change the left and right margins to 0.5. So delete that 7. We want to make that a 0.5. And on the right from 0.7, we're going to change it to 0.5. Also, we're going to click on the horizontally checkbox on the center page, center on page area to make sure that our work is centered horizontally in the worksheet. So go ahead and click OK. This will close that dialog box. Next, we're going to add headers and footers, right? This is something that's going to be applied to every worksheet in our workbook. So with all the worksheets still selected, make sure that they're all still selected. We're still in a group. We're going to click the page layout button again. This time we're going to click it on the status bar. So at the bottom right corner here, you see 3 icons: normal, page layout, and page break preview. So let's click on the one in the middle, page layout. This will display the first worksheet in page layout view. And if necessary, scroll the worksheet up until you can see the header of the worksheet. There it is. As you can see, there are 3 boxes. The instruction says to click on the left header box. We're going to enter something in there. We have to type either Shelly Cashman or your name. All right, so type your name. I'm going to type Dr. Liebenberg. Then we're going to click the center header box, and here we want to type expense worksheet. All right, and then click the right header box. And here we're going to click on the current date button, which is going to be on the header and footer tools design tab. So if you go to the ribbon, the last option here in the menu is header and footer. Make sure you're in that tab. And here you want to click on current date. All right, so this will insert a date code, as you can see, that when I click somewhere else on the worksheet or I close it and I open it, it will give you the current date. All right, so once we've set up the current date, we are ready to adjust our footer. So go ahead and scroll the workbook down. As you can see there, when I click, now it shows my date. Scroll down to the footer. And here we're going to click on the middle footer box. And we're going to click on the sheet name button. So select the header and footer tab again on the ribbon. This time we want the sheet name button. All right, so there it is. We have current date, current time, file path, file name, and then sheet name is what we want. All right, so again, that's going to insert a code there. That's going to be adjusted depending on which worksheet we are printing. And once we put the sheet name button, we want to press the space bar and we're going to type the word page. We're still in the same box. So this is going to say the name of the worksheet, space, page. Again, another space. Press the space bar again. And this time we're going to click on the page number button. All right, it's going to insert another code there. So basically what we're saying is in that box, enter the name of the worksheet, page, and then the page number. All right, so you can experiment there, inserting other things on the left-hand side, on the left box, on the right box of the footer, but just make sure that for the purposes of submitting, we only want this, what we just enter in the middle box. Click anywhere on the worksheet to deselect the page footer. All right, so as you can see now, it says Consolidated Page 1. So the name of my active worksheet and then the page number. Click the normal button on the status bar to return to normal view. All right, so on the bottom right corner here, we're going to go back to normal view. There we go. We're back to our worksheet. All right. So now we're ready to preview and print all the worksheets in the workbook together. If necessary, right-click any sheet and then click Select All. I think I already have them selected, but let's go ahead and do it just in case. Select all sheets, all right? Make sure that your printer is ready, that is set up. Now we're going to click on the File tab to display the Backstage view. And here we're going to click on Print. We want to select no scaling at the bottom if you need to. And you want to select fit sheet on one page, right? As you can see, part of my sheet right now is overflowing to a second page. So we don't want that. We want all of that, the data and the graph on one page. All right, so to solve that problem, you can select in that no scaling option, fit sheet to one page. Now mine has a different resolution. I have my screen set to a different resolution than what's recommended in the textbook. So it's going to show very small. Now, this is all you need to do for the purposes of submitting it before our very last step. But in terms of printing, this is all you need to do. So I would leave it like this. You can go and scroll through the different pages. There should be only 3, but as I said, mine is showing differently because I have a different resolution. So if you wanted to print this on paper, I'm going to show you what to do if your computer is doing exactly the same as mine. So let's make sure that we follow all the instructions. You can click the print button at this point, and it should show as figure 562. And then your last step will be to right-click one of the selected tabs to ungroup them, right? So you would right-click and then select ungroup sheets, right? And then save your workbook. All right, I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to show you how I would print them so that they all fit in one page. So mine, I would go to Custom Scaling Options. And here I would select Adjust to in the scaling area. And you can kind of play with this number. Let's go ahead and do 90%. So 100% didn't fit. So I took it down to 90% and it looks like it fits perfectly right now. Now, the other thing that I would do is that I am printing, if you scroll through the pages here with the space bar on your right or with the pages on the center bottom, as you can see, I have several blank pages, right? We don't want that. So I could go back and just select what I want to print. And remember that whatever I do here, it's going to be applied to all the worksheets. So I'm just going to select this and then go File, Print again. So this time, instead of printing the active sheets, I'm going to do Print Selection. All right, so now it should work. I should have page 1, Lady Lobster expenses, the Henry Haddock expenses worksheet, and Sharon Shrimp. All right, there I have my 4 worksheets, 1 for each food truck, and then the consolidated worksheet. So now it should be ready to print. All right, now, but as I said, for the purposes of submitting it, leave it as it is with the instructions that I mentioned earlier, the instructions that are in your textbook. So now let's go ahead and make sure that we ungroup the sheets and we save our work one more time. Finally, in the last 2 sections of this textbook project, we're going to do the reverse process of what we just completed. We're going to consolidate the data by first splitting our current workbook in separate worksheets. Each of the food trucks will be split up, and then we're going to consolidate the data by linking those workbooks together. These 2 last sections are not graded, so I'm going to ask you to stop at this point, save your file one last time, making sure you use the name convention that Cengage is asking you to use. And also, I want you to check that each of the sheets is zoomed in to 120%, as that was the initial requirement, but I did change it earlier when I was trying to look at the chart a little bit closer. So this one is at 140 right now. I'm going to reduce it to 120 and make sure you click on each of the other sheets. They all seem to be set at 120. All right, so we're gonna, one more time, we're gonna save it. I'm gonna save as this time just so that I can show you the name of the file, SC for Shelly Cashman _EX_5, because we're in module 5, _ consolidated expenses, all one word with a C and the E in capital letters. All right, so make sure you remember where you save it. Click Save, and now you can go ahead and upload your file. See you in the next video.